So we should be live now on YouTube anyway. And there we go for Facebook. All right, now as long as the AI doesn't kick in and go back and undo everything I just did, then we should be okay. But all right, so welcome to the gathering and good to see all of you. We are going to be looking at, well, I'm going to pull up the Substack that I had written and look at the questions that were on there. I'll just ask you guys, do you have any thoughts, anything you want to share from what was on Substack this week? And I'm getting there, so give me a minute. And I have to say I'm a little discombobulated with everything that took place this morning, so I'm trying to get my own bearings here. But yeah, a lot of good stuff. So here's some things to consider and to talk about. But the subject, let me just go back to that. The subject was just the old program can wear religious clothes. And part of it was comparing what I teach with Christianity, where it matches up and where it doesn't. And I would be curious, maybe this is the direction we'll go. Get some juices flowing for you guys. I'd be curious if you guys could identify kind of what, especially those in the authenticity classes. What are some things that you see as parallels to Christianity, and what are some things that you see that are not so much parallel that we would look at differently? And I'm going to pull up something else here too while we're talking about all this. So anybody got anything? And I will say the websites are up and running great. That is one thing that is doing pretty good. There we got glitches here and there on things, but for the most part, they are working really well. So I encourage you to go check out that. The Substack is the way to stay connected on what's coming up and what we're doing. And that is all over the website. You can click anywhere on the website that asks for you to, about being connected, and that'll work. So
I found the website to be pretty easy. I did it without Larry.
Okay.
Which was a miracle. And I was able to finally get back on track with my monthly thing.
I saw.
Oh, did you? Oh, yeah. And I guess I went the right day at the right time, right?
Well, and that's the whole thing. It's like,
yeah,
and I guess that's a good testimony that you were able to get on there and do that. And you feel like you can't do those things, but you did it.
I did it.
Yeah, it's pretty easy, and even the way it's set up, ideally, and I haven't been able to test this part of it. Well, some people have actually. But you can get in there and you can adjust the donation amounts. It says suggested donation, but when you get in, you can choose a different amount. So, and that works really well for those who are in other countries, because that's been a challenge for them to try to figure out, $25, how much is that in rupees? How much is it in, the pound and so forth. But anyway, so it makes it easy for them. And okay, so did anybody have any questions or thoughts from the article this week? And I'm still looking on here because I'm trying to find what I wrote initially. You know what? I'm just going to ask it again.
Larry, I love your ambiance.
I was going to wait for Debbie to down so it didn't get loud, but can you hear me?
Well, if you sound far away.
Yeah, I don't think that's connected. Try it now, Larry.
Can you hear me yet?
A little better. Normal? You can turn it up a little bit.
I see my box lit up. Maybe I'll try to see if the volume is on the computer, Gil.
Huh, when you slid that across the table, we could hear that. That's interesting.
Right.
That came through loud and
I could
clear. When
I
you
could hear you real clear. Maybe it's because I have hearing aids in.
Maybe so.
Oh,
I could hear him when he was sitting back there talking.
Yeah, the green light's on, so it looks like it should be working.
you know what? I think
Well,
it
for
is
me,
working, but I would say that the volume may not be up
Okay.
as loud as it could be or should be. I could, if somebody else wants to talk for a minute, I'll go in there and I can probably fix that volume on that. So,
That'd be helpful.
yeah. And again, so the topic on the blog partly was how does Christianity compare with what we teach today or what I teach today? And you know, I think some of you could really name the differences right away. We don't believe in an eternal hell and things of that nature, or that Jesus is saving you from an angry God or anything like that. So if anybody wants to speak to that, I'm going to go in the other room and fix that volume real quick. So go ahead, anybody.
oh,
Well, I'll talk. My daughter, I asked her the question about the teachings that we've had in churches and how they came across. And she said, well, it depends on the church, depends on the denomination and what they were taught and what their beliefs were, and basically what they wanted to get across to you. But my question to her was, were they teaching about the character of Christ, or were they trying to shove their doctrine down our throats?
Wow.
Can you guys hear me now? Any clearer?
Yes.
Okay, good. We'll see if this works then. Gil's got it working. I can see some volume stuff going up here. So, okay, cool. Yeah, I agree, Maxine. I'll share a little bit too. I'll hold it up for now. I'm not sure what'll matter, but yeah, I mean, I've only been back into the church settings a couple of times since kind of I'm going to say outgrowing it, and I don't mean that as a put down to the other. It's once you've stepped out, it's hard to go back into. And I can't even say all the things, but honestly, one of them is loud music. Now that could just be the church that we are affiliated with outside, but they have this big booming thing, and I mean I'm not saying half. Several of the children in the community their parents have headphones on them so that they can't be overdone with the music. It's like, seriously, guys, if you're hurting your own children by bringing them to church, why do you have the music so loud? And it is, in my opinion, ridiculously loud. But again, is that just the old man, get off my yard? I don't know. But
It's
I
too
see
loud,
Jennifer.
Larry.
Yeah.
I see Jennifer shaking her head though. So yeah, she's experienced it too. But that's just like a physical thing. But even the spiritual language, again, we've probably all done this too, where, oh, come down, Holy Spirit. It's like, if you didn't bring Holy Spirit in with you, then you're missing the point. But I love the people, right? Because it has nothing to do with the fact that the people that we're going there to experience, because usually a lot of times it's some kids program or something that we're participating or wanting to show participation for. But doctrinally wise, though, I'm not there to specifically change their doctrines. I'd like to be able to express them and show this new way of living that's not so, rules oriented and behavioral. Your behavior is going to be wonderful when you step into this kind of relationship with the Father. It's not that we're trying to be, this perfect Christian, right? Which was kind of the language we had in the day. I just live, move, and have my being from such a different peaceful place, and it's so much easier to live this way. Yep. Does that mean I'm always right? Do I let out a swear word here, there, or whatever happens in an outburst? But yeah, I get the finger wagging from my wife, but no, I don't do that. But no, this lifestyle is a completely different lifestyle, but I think the way we teach it is by living it, and that's where I'm at.
That's good. That's good. Thank you, Larry. John and Evelyn, go ahead.
Regarding loud music, my ears still ring today.
Wow.
From early 2000s, and it only got worse over time. So yeah, it's too loud most of the time. And now I can't take any loud noise hardly. So just ask him.
I understand.
That's all.
Yeah.
Love to worship, but you know, why does it have to be so loud?
Yeah. And I do know, because I worked at a larger church for a little while, and, you could be in different parts of the room, and in one part of the room, it wasn't loud at all, and another part just blaring. And that was just the acoustics of the building that sometimes they couldn't control. And, they'd even tell people, hey, sit in that part, if you don't like it loud, and over here if you do like it loud, which it's a bummer for the church when they can't control that. But it is part of what happens in some churches. Some places, yeah, it's just too loud, period.
The main church, it was very controlled and it was loud throughout. And the last one was just loud.
Ridiculous. Yeah.
Yeah. You're not talking about Kingdom Equipping Center, are you?
No.
No.
No, we would sneak over to Kingdom Equipping Center from that church.
Yeah, I liked our worship. I just recently connected again with Aaron Gaden. Do you remember him? He did some of our worship, led some of the worship for us. Yeah. Anyway, I just in the last few days connected with him again, and he's got a great band going now. I would love to have him come out, and we do a big family reunion here at the Pearl. That'd be cool.
What would happen in Roseville in comparison to the church we were attending was that the worship leaders connected with God and were really, it was that kind of thing going on.
It's a flow.
To flow in it. It wasn't a performance for the people in the congregation.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was marvelous.
Yeah, I see Pastor Isaac from Africa is saying in Africa, the louder it becomes, they believe the more they feel God's presence. And when I was in Africa, that was, I needed earplugs. Because, yeah, they would have it so loud, I couldn't even understand anything that was being said anyway. It would just, when it's so loud and it all just blares. That was definitely, it would put anything in America to feel like you were in a very low impact area if you were comparing the two. It is loud in Africa. So, all right, Deneen, go ahead.
Yeah, I guess I'll address that first part. That's not what I wanted to talk about though. But yeah, I can't, I think that was really funny what you said, Larry, about the aging because I never really liked the loud, but it was not as distasteful to me in the beginning as it was as I aged. The more I aged, it was like enough of this already because I couldn't really get focused. It was just too much noise. And for me, peacefulness and quietness is really how I'm able to shift into the presence. It's not with the loudness. And I find that you can have church that is expressive without it being loud.
Yeah.
I think that different cultures have different ways of expressing things, and I'm not here to determine which one is the most advantageous to being close to God, because I think that we are so different, and the frequency and vibrations that come from each of us are able to connect according to how God created us. But personally, I like quietness. I like the stillness, and that's because that's where I've gotten my most revelatory moments. I've experienced my most revelatory moments during those times. which brings me to one in the beginning of my church experience, which was when I was a little kid, probably, from birth, we were taken to church. And then, I don't know if I should say this, my parents are dead, but then when my parents wanted some alone time, they sent us to church. That was the only time.
Yeah.
That was the only time that they didn't have us around and they weren't working or something. And my sister said she doesn't remember that, but I remember it. And when I got older, I kind of understood it. I didn't get it at first. I was like, oh. So,
Yeah.
I was taught about God.
Yeah.
I was not taught to know him. And so that went on for many, many years. I knew a lot about God, but it was subtly and without provocation that I started becoming relational with God. And you know how some people say that, it happened later on in life. It happened when I was a kid, but I didn't realize what it was called. I didn't know what it was, but there was a connection there that had nothing to do with me trying to remember scriptures, old scriptures. It had everything to do with this internal connection that just happened in spite of me. So that was my experience, but that did not stop me from having my own little detours and excursions in life, right? I still did stuff. I mean, lots of stuff. But there was this thing on the inside which made me really understand, especially after I had kids, raise up a child in the way they should go. When they get old, they won't depart. But the raising for me was not so much the information, it was that I was somewhere along the line introduced to God himself. And so, yeah, for me, the transition is, the shifting came from performance to presence. That was the shifting for me, and it becomes, it's evolving still as I speak. Like, Paul says, he says, I have not yet apprehended, even though he said, I just want to know him. Yeah, I'm there too. I just want to know him. I mean, not just know about him or just have a brush with him or just even be settled with what the part that I know yet, because getting to know, and I say this all the time, all of you helps me to know him better, because the multifaceted layers and unlimited characteristics of God is infinite. So for me, it's like I love the fact that I've moved to that type of consciousness at this point. I didn't understand, I didn't have words for it before, I didn't understand it, but I remember being as a child in John S. John S. Him and I, we've talked about this. Like it was like something that was there before we even knew it was there. It was like continuous, ongoing, just the seeking the essence of God and stuff, and until we realized that it wasn't out there.
Yeah.
But I had to, evolve to that. So, and my closing statement is I am evolving in my relationship with God. I'm evolving into a deeper understanding of who God is and who I am. That's where I'm at today.
Love it. Yeah, that is good. And we're going to get into some stuff here that may be very controversial, maybe even in this group. We'll see. Because we'll look at, what I want to look at is the similarities and the differences between, what I'm sharing and teaching in my books and so forth. And again, doesn't mean all of you believe the same thing. I think we're very clear on that. But just to have some clarity on what it is. And I'll admit that there's a lot of it that's still ambiguous in terms of what I share and teach, where my heart is at. When you try to compare it to Christianity. When I'm saying Christianity, I'm talking about mainstream church in a box. I'm not talking about Jesus. So I would say that what Jesus taught, 100% right on all the time. But the way it's been interpreted and then taken into churches and made into doctrines and so forth, that's where there's likely a big difference. So anyway, thank you, Deneen. John, go ahead.
Yeah, with regards to loud music, I think it's a younger generation thing. Because even yesterday, I was sitting in my front yard and some 12, 13-year-old boys went by on their bicycles that they don't have to pedal anymore, they don't have to work at it. And this one kid had a boombox. Like now you can have them really small so they can carry them with them. Yeah, they're so loud you could hear it a block away. Like,
Yep.
I don't know, they just want to attract attention to themselves, or is it, I like loud music, I don't care what anybody else thinks.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
kind of the feeling I got when they started bringing these big speakers into the church building, and it was always younger people who ran the sound booth.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know if they did it to keep everybody awake or what.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Music is one of those things where you're probably not going to get 100% buy-in from everybody on everything. Takes a lot of, I'm going to use the word tolerance, for everyone to have grace and mercy for one another, because everybody
Yeah.
likes everything a little bit different. So
And
at
then they
least some
started
things.
bringing in the circular thing for people who have hearing aids, so they could hear it straight through. And
Okay.
half the time it didn't work.
Yeah.
So you have to turn your hearing aid up higher if the mic wasn't working properly, or,
Yeah.
there's that challenge with technology. I
Yeah.
think it's
The blessing and the curse. Believe me, I know it.
like when I've been in Africa and we did sound things, and I can understand why they want it loud when you have outdoor, because you're trying to make everybody from far away to hear, even the ones who don't want to hear in their houses.
Right. Yep.
Or they thought, well, I don't have to go there, I can hear it from in my house.
Right. Right. Good. All right.
But,
Thank you, John.
The other thing I want to bring up is I've been listening to a lot of testimonials of people who have had face-to-face encounters with Jesus. And Jesus, like, because it's the Muslim people, and they've been taught that the crucifixion didn't happen. And Jesus makes it very clear to them that there is a chasm between heaven and earth, or I think he kind of used it as, walking in truth, walking in the way, and totally rejecting. And he makes it very clear to them that he is the only path to the Father, like I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man comes to the Father but by me. And those who reject, they end up in a place where their rejection creates the hell.
Yeah.
Although some of the people who have had these experiences where they've been shown where people go who totally reject what Jesus did on the cross from that, it's not by works, like all the things that, like in Islam, they have to pray 5 times a day, they do this, they say, I prayed 5 times a day when they give their testimonies, and I did this, but I felt empty. So then Jesus said, well, it's not by works. You can't, anything you do isn't going to get you into heaven. It's what I did. And, he'd do this, give them this vision of him. He'd stand there, and then his whole body would go across the chasm. Says, I am the way. There is no other way. So that could, like, is there a hell? Well, people call it a hell anyways. Maybe there is that kind of a hell when you decide you totally reject and you think like your religion, like Islam, that's when somebody makes a decision to receive what Jesus says is the way, then they are tortured, they are killed, sometimes executed, burnt in the fire, whatever, because they're so brainwashed by what the Quran says. And Jesus talked to one of the imams, and he explained to them that the reason why, he said Muhammad was somebody who was seeking God. But because of history, Islam only came into existence 600 years after Jesus' crucifixion. So he said there were certain Jews that didn't believe and certain believers that didn't believe that he was crucified. And all this got carried down, and he said, well, Muhammad worked on what he knew. That's what he put in his book.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of interesting information about, different scriptures and holy scriptures and, different things that are out there, the Bhagavad Gita, the Quran, and so Buddha goes back 2,500 years. And so there's a lot of text out there. And I think what's amazing and what we've been able to see, and there's a lot of other hands up that I want to go ahead and keep moving to, but just to understand that, God is speaking to people all the time. And when a person is willing to slow down and actually begin to listen, it's not like any one of these people was, a super religious type person. I wouldn't even claim that for the people in the Bible necessarily, because, they were all people who slowed down and were able to hear God. Did any of them hear him perfectly? I would suggest not. And so, we all have our gaps. And the thing is, I just look for love. God is love. And I look for that in any and all writings, whether it's a book written today or an ancient manuscript, because there's a lot of stuff you can look up. We used to have this big, thick book called The Other Bible, and it just had all this other stuff from Kabbalah and all kinds of different stuff. And it's like, they all had pieces that were really good, and then they had some pieces that you really raise an eyebrow out, because it didn't fit. And mostly it didn't fit because people were filtering into it from their culture and not necessarily what God was saying, but bringing in their culture to it. And that does make a big difference, really does make a big difference. But yeah, anyway, thank you, John. Leslie, go ahead.
On the loudness, I had a voice teacher nearly 40 years ago named Reed Bunker. He sang with the Vienna choir, the Vienna opera. And so he had a big thing about decibels and hearing and what it does to your body. And he said it is an assault on our ability to hear the word. Because faith comes by hearing, and hearing by the word of God. And if you cannot hear, then you cannot hear the gospel message. And so with electronics, and of course when he sang, you don't use that much electronics on a stage because the acoustics carry your voice, and your ability to project your voice overrides the need for too many acoustics to be able to sing over an orchestra. And so that's what I really have seen it as, is an assault on us being able to hear the gospel message, to be set free. If you can't hear, you're riding around in a car where it's so many decibels that, you'll probably be deaf before you're 30 or 40. Then they've won another one. Or taking another lamb out. And so that's just my thing on the loudness. And I think that was all I had to say.
Okay. Thank you, Leslie. Appreciate that. Jennifer, go ahead.
Okay, back to what John was talking about with heaven and hell. So I'm sure all of you have also heard lots of experiences and maybe had your own near-death experiences. I've heard many, and it's always where they see Jesus. They're not seeing Buddha, they're not seeing Muhammad, they're seeing Jesus. Also, people who do not follow the Christian religion or who believe in Jesus or even know Jesus, I'm hearing a lot of people who are having dreams or encounters with someone that they know as Jesus, not Muhammad, not Buddha, not an energy that is all love. Do I believe God and Jesus is love? Yes. Do I believe that Gil Hodges carries love and is almost all love? And maybe y'all are. Yeah, I think it's very possible, but still there's the difference that I'm seeing.
Yeah. It's good. Janine, go ahead.
Yeah, okay. Personal experience. I have met Hindus that ascribe to what we believe Christ did. I've met Buddhists that ascribe to what we believe Christ did. I've met Jewish people, many Jewish people that have, and not to mention in the early church, there was tons of them there because Jesus himself and then all of his followers primarily that believe in what Jesus had, came to do. And so I personally, and then if we actually study these different religions, and many of them that precede Judaism and Christianity, we'll find that God has been trying to talk to all humanity to take us all to the truth. When I think about Jesus, I think about the incarnation of God, who has actually decided at this particular juncture to show us the way, which Christianity was called before it was called Christianity. Show us exactly another layer that was missing from the truth. I do not believe that everything that preceded that is not the truth. I believe that there's been some infiltration of our own ideologies even after that, if we see all of these denominations and stuff, and if we understand the crossover from Catholicism to Protestantism, we'll understand that things have happened not just in other cultures. It's happened in our limited belief system as well. And if we are really interested in the truth, then we will not be dogmatic on this side thinking that we have the answer. Because the thing is, because I have had my experiences with Jesus Christ, I would not be presumptuous to tell someone in Taoism that what they're saying, what they believe in is wrong. Because one of the blessings for me is that I was able to, the National World Council Association. I know many of you know that. I can't remember the right name. It's been so many years since I've been there. I was able to have encounters with people all over the globe. And they brought their culture into what we call Christianity. And it didn't dilute their belief at all. It actually gave us, for me, more understanding of what God is saying. And so one of the things that I've learned, and I thank God for my vast experiences, because it keeps me from being so judgmental and dogmatic. And does that take me away from my personal experience with Jesus Christ? Absolutely, it does not. But it can for some people, because if you're not grounded and rooted, other things can cause you to, not know the truth. And you'll be swayed by any wind of doctrine, which, the Bible itself says that that's going to happen to some people, and stuff. But if I am going to continue on this journey and do what I've been called to do, my goal is to become love, that I may be able to verbiate that love, that people will be able to see the truth. One of the things that Mahatma Gandhi said to Martin Luther King, a Hindu and a Christian, he said, if it weren't for the people, I would become a Christian. This is a documented fact,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
And so the thing is, as we think that we are the elitist group, which is one of the downfalls of Western Christianity, that are so exclusive that they're not open to really do the Great Commission. Because what happens is you go places and you want to make people assimilate to everything that you believe in, your dress, your ideologies, everything, and eliminate everything that God showed them about himself. Everything that God has put in this earth is from him. Everything. And so when we start divorcing ourselves, if we just look at our own history, it's like we have demonized alchemism. We have demonized medicine on all levels until now we accept it, because, now that we see that it's working and helping people to, live. We made people witches. We made people, we burned people at stake. We boiled them in oil. We did all this in the name of our limited belief system of what we thought was correct.
Yeah.
Really, there are many, many doctrines. Not doctrines, scriptures that have been written through the years that, are they flawless? I don't know. I can't say, but I believe that, we are still working on ourselves as humans. And so I probably will pin something that may be a little off according to something that feels comfortable for me, or whatever. But if we are in pursuit of the fullness and the essence of God, the Holy Spirit, who Jesus Christ left for us, is a discerner of truth. So I don't personally operate in fear. I'm not going to sit around and talk about how my little belief system is the elitist only way and then quote this one scripture of doctrine. Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life. Well, I'm telling you, I could dissect that in so many ways. Jesus is the way. He showed us how to live this earthly existence without sin and without flaw, without, going away from what the truth is, without being separated from God. He taught us that. And then he made a whole sacrifice. He gave himself in an exchange, so that there would be this Holy Spirit continuum that will constantly enlighten us and make us aware of who we actually already are. Not us as these Western Christians, but all humanity globally. And when we go to this place of thinking that we're the only ones that know, what we do is we exclude other things that are going on in the earth that God himself has allowed to come in that are truth. I have found that there's so many things and what we call Far Eastern religion, we call it New Age, not so much new, it's older than Christianity, right? So, meditation works for me, dealing with things that help my body and my soul and my spirit to connect one together. They have enhanced my walk with God. They have not taken away. It has not caused me to be demonically possessed. None of that is going on. But that's what we were taught to keep us controlled. If we only understood our history, we would not be so fearful of anything outside of the privy of our limited perspectives and understanding about life. And
that was a good sermon.
Soapbox.
Actually, I'm saying that is really, really well said, because there's so much truth in that. My whole part of what Breaking Your Matrix is all about is digging into the programming that we are so conditioned by. And in the Western world, we are highly, highly conditioned by Christianity in a box. I'll continue to make the difference between the box and actually what Jesus taught, because it is largely two different things to a large degree. But I'm not going to jump in here just yet. I'm going to let, I think Debbie wants to say something, and then I'll jump in with what, anyway, with some things that, because part of it is when we actually do the research, we can find out that what we've believed has been programming that has just kept us in our own little box. And when we start to do the research, our eyes get opened. But the programming is just, we've talked about the brain, when we tried to expand it, it wants to snap back to what it was. Same thing. When you're trying to expand and break out of your programming, you get so far and it wants to pull you right back in. you have to continue to pursue it. And that's why it's really important to be in groups that are doing this together, because ideally together we can help one another keep that expansion going and be aware of the snapback. Because I see a lot, I mean, I'd say 90% of everybody, myself included, we snap back to the old stuff pretty quickly if we're not careful. And then we start getting dogmatic about my way's the only way, and this is the way you got to see it. And it's like, we're back into the same old boat. But anyway, I'll stop there, let Debbie share her piece, and then we'll talk more about that. Go ahead, Debbie.
My piece of peace. My piece of peace.
Hold that just to make sure you're not got your fingers over the microphone. Hold it the other direction. No,
This
there you go,
direction.
like
Is
that.
better?
It's probably going to be
Okay.
better, but go ahead. I think hope
Can you hear me now?
can hear you.
Hallelujah. Oh my goodness. Deneen, you always stir my belly. And I think that the biggest difference that I notice with the way I perceive Jesus back then and the way I perceive Jesus now is, I knew all the stories. I knew the historical Jesus and everything he did and all the things that people did around him. And people spoke of miracles and everything all the time. But all I knew were the stories of people experiencing miracles and things like that. And so we always talked about Jesus, that same old thing. But I didn't have the actual knowing of Christ, of knowing my holy of holies, my inner sanctum. Actually, that actually translates the sanctum, the inner sanctum translates into the holy of holies, literally. And so I didn't realize that I had one of those, and everybody has one of those. And so the way I perceive Jesus now is that sweet place within me that I can always go and rest and be comforted and relax and receive divine wisdom, all that good stuff. I mean, it's just like la 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 la. Heaven is within me, really. I can go there anytime. And just as an example, like last night, we had these lanterns that we got for the Pearl, and we were all placing them. We were thinking of places that we would like to have them on the land, and so we were placing them on the front porch. And as I thought about this morning, I realized that but we placed them on the ground. That scripture, it's a lamp unto my feet and a light unto my path. And when we were finished getting them all in place, there was this beautiful aroma. It was such an intense floral aroma that many have experienced in prayer and worship in the church. And before I would think, oh, Holy Spirit is out there. And this time I realized more clearly that these are love emanations, love waves, if you will, that are emanating from my inner sanctum, and you're in Gil's inner sanctum, and Larry's holy of holies, and Jeanette's. Everybody that was there synchronizing in love as we were doing this project, just so beautifully and wonderfully communicating and communing at the same time, because God is always with us. And the more we interact and on that harmonious love flow, I mean, that's what Jesus is to me today. That's experiencing Jesus in my life, in my body, within me, through me, and around me. All that love. Amen.
So good. So good. Uh, Thank you, Debbie. Yeah, and actually, I need to put some of those pictures out on Facebook because they were, it really did. It looked beautiful. And yeah, I need to put some of them out there. I sent them to Sandy, and we had a little text thread going this morning that I put them out, but yeah, I'll put them up on Facebook later today. Yeah, so there's, this is an interesting area, and I don't have an agenda to try to get people swayed into one thing or the other. The only thing that still makes a difference to me is that we are able to truly love without conditions. And the challenge with that is when we get into our own belief systems and we get really deep into them, we can start slipping back into dogma and insisting that people see it our way, or just feeling like if people don't see it the way I see it, then they're wrong, versus just understanding God's got this whole thing. It's not you. You don't have it. God's got the whole thing. He's got the whole universe in his hands. He's got the whole thing in his heart. He loves us. He cares about us. And like Deneen said, that, he's allowed all this other stuff. And we use that word allowed, and I think we use it to try to couch the impact of what's really being said, in the sense that God is God. And I will continue to just keep this mantra as short as it can be, and just let God be God. Can we do that? Just let God is love, be God. And I am a follower of Jesus, because what he has shared and what he has taught, I don't see anything that he taught directly as being something that I would feel is not correct. I definitely see it in the Bible. I see stuff in the Bible, especially Old Testament. There's a lot of stuff, stuff on slavery and God killing women, children, everybody, all the kinds of crazy stuff. It's like, well, did God really do that? Number one, I don't think so. Did the people do it? Probably. And they attributed it to God, because then that justified them being able to do that. And they could say, we're good in doing this. We can do it. That's been the thing all along. I mean, how many of you have had somebody say to you, "Thus saith the Lord," and then start preaching at you and telling you what you got to do and how you got to do it? And these days I get it from some New Age people. New Age people coming and saying, "Well, I'm God's gift to this area, and this is what I've done, and this is what I know how to do, and this is what I'm here to do for you, and let me tell you how to do it." And just like, it's the same ego everywhere you go. It's just as strong in Christianity as it is anywhere else. It's not, there's no one religious group that has that ego cornered for themselves, that they, can be pointed to and say that group's just full of ego and arrogance. No, it's everywhere. And the biggest thing is for us to be able to let go. And that's what we keep teaching and going through. And, the choice and in Breaking Your Matrix is just that same mantra: let go and flow. We've got to be able to, right over there, let go and flow. It's just something that if we learn that, and we got into some really deep stuff in the classes this last week, and we're talking about, when we truly all reach a place where we are free, 100% free, not programmed any at all, any ever more, guess what's still going to happen? My freedom is eventually going to step on the toes of your freedom. Guaranteed. Because we're different people and we like different things. What's the one caveat that saves the relationship? The ability for each one of us to be able to let go, at least for the moment, of my preference, my expectation, my belief. Just let it go for a moment so that we can keep in relationship. Because if I'm going to hold to my belief system and hold to my preference and hold to whatever, and it doesn't match up with yours, and you're going to hold to yours, well, guess what? Now we've got conflict again that cannot be resolved, all because we're holding on to our stuff. It's mine. It takes precedence over you and yours. That's not love. Love is sacrificial. Doesn't mean you become a doormat, but it's sacrificial. And so, what we believe, oh man, anyway, I'm not going to go there. I got a whole nother subject to go down, but it just opens up a whole other door and a whole nother path. And I see some hands up, so we'll go down these first, and then if we may come back to this other, but just to say that, what you believe is going to influence the way you see the world, period. Even unto death, it's going to influence. And it does not mean that it's right, does not mean it's wrong. Just saying that whatever you believe, whatever you expect, That's the whole thing with energy. When you expect negative things, you're probably going to get negative things. When you expect positive things, you're probably going to get more positive things. Not saying that's 100%, but it's definitely going to be swayed by what you expect and what you believe. So does that affect everything else? To some degree, and I'd say to a large degree, absolutely yes. And for us to be able to let go and understand that I have a way that I think is right. I'm not going to say I have the way. I only share the way that I am going just because it has worked so well for me. And if people look at it and say, "Hey, man, what do you got? It seems like you got something that's working." Okay, well, come check it out. And I do the same when I see something from somebody else that seems to be working. I want to know, wow, what do you got that's working? That's why here at the Pearl, it's about sharing. People come here and they share what they believe. We don't impose it on one another. We simply share it. So anyway, like I said, got other hands up. Go ahead, Deneen.
Yeah, I love what Lacey said, because that crossed my mind, but I have so many things to say that I forgot to say that one thing. When she talked about being able to be in the loudness and still be in the presence, I agree, Lacey. I meant to say that because it's not all or nothing. I just prefer, at this almost 70-year-old lady, I just prefer the silence now. The loud now is a little distracting for me. I can't hold that many things going on at the same time anymore. But I remember being able to be amongst the loudness and go into this place inside of myself and be able to be in the presence and worship, and I think I could do it now. I just don't prefer it, I prefer the silence.
Yeah,
I
me too.
prefer the calmness, right? And stuff. But when you said that, I was like, yes, Lacey, I'm so glad this young person said that, because I don't want us, I would love for all humanity to be able to not just pick sides and be dig their heels down, and realize that we are a diverse a bunch of humans, and that to reach God, or to tap in to an alliance with him, can happen in the midst of total chaos. It has nothing to do with external, it has everything to do with my consciousness. And so when you said that, I was like, way to go, girl. Thank you. I needed you to say that, because it crossed my mind, but then I forgot because I was saying so much other crap. Like, I'm gonna stop now because I got more crap that I got to say, but I forgot what that was because I was so engrossed in what Gil was saying. So maybe it'll come back. If not, then God will reveal if it needs to be revealed through somebody.
That's good.
So yeah, thanks
right.
a lot.
Thanks, Deneen. All right, John, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to say something about what God allows. Why did he allow it? It's because he gave free choice. And he's not
That's
going to
it.
take it away.
That's it.
The only way he'll take it away is by convincing you that love is a better way.
There you go.
And it's all about love. Like, when I listen to these testimonies, it's like they all say, he didn't come to condemn me. He didn't He didn't. But he had love in his eyes. He was trying to love me and draw me into his heart. That's the whole thing. That is Jesus' way, and it should be our way too. Like, when you talk to people they think differently than you, they've made different choices which led them to think this way. And that's what our choices do. They lead us to a place of thinking differently. And
Yeah.
the only way we can change is by making different choices, I guess.
Right. And sometimes we make choices.
We have to make the choice of unconditional love, and that seems to solve more problems than anything else.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. And that's the thing
that's
is,
that's a place where your peace remains when you make that choice of love.
Yeah.
And allowing everybody else to make their choice, whatever their choice is, and their opinion.
Yep, that's good. Thank you, John. And Sheila, go ahead.
Hi, everybody. Um, well, I guess talking about beliefs, I wanted to address that because it's an issue, particularly belief of, like who is Jesus to me, which has changed and keeps changing. Something I've been shown the last couple of weeks is it's in our language, sometimes embedded within the language is more truth than we understand. And belief actually starts out be lie. And my belief is I'm being a lie, essentially, because it's not the truth, because the truth is something I'm evolving into experiencing. So I'm coming to the point of my knower out of my heart brain is the place where I need to focus my greatest adoration as opposed to the beliefs in my head. I was even shown, and just stop me if I'm too far out, and put it on the shelf if it doesn't register for you, please, okay? That I am not my mind.
And you're not your body, and you're not your feelings. Yeah.
I'm not my mind. My mind it was shown to me, it was more like software for my brain.
Mm-hmm.
And my heart brain, which has information in the etheric realm, holds so much. This physicality brain would not hold it.
Right.
So learning to exercise, and I'm so accustomed to using my mind, it's my default. And I have to remind myself to try to go to my heart brain and use that and exercise it. And that was actually when I first, got awakened, I was first being taught stuff. The first thing Father told me was that I had to start using my heart brain instead of my head brain. That was the very first thing.
Yeah.
And now here I am, 6 or 8 years later, and now I'm learning about the mind being software.
Yeah. And I kind of look at it in terms of on it, and this would be on a micro scale. Okay, I think what you're talking about? Maybe this is not a good analogy, but the mind trying to do all the work, but then when you connect with the heart is connected to everything. I mean, connected to God.
Yes.
That, and I would say the mind is too, but just for the explanation, the mind trying to connect to the heart I was just thinking that's kind of like me trying to connect to AI right now. When I connect to AI, it's like, wow, there's a ton of information there that I didn't have because I was trying to work out of just me. That's my mind trying to do everything. And then it connects to the heart and realizes, whoa, there's a bunch more. But here's the other thing. It's like when we're connecting to our heart, we're really connecting to a source, the source that has all knowledge of all things and puts the internet and AI and whatever AI could ever come up with to shame, and it always will. So that's why I'm not afraid of AI. It's like if God's like, that's getting a little out of hand, even though humans may not be able to, control it anymore. If God needed to or wanted to, he can, because it's still operating within him, and he can unplug it anytime he wants.
Well, I know for a fact that's the case because he has actually sent me 3 different times to work with AI and changing the prime directives of different systems. They're not the hearts of the systems are not where we think they are.
Yeah.
But it's like kind of like tributaries of a river kind of thing, and they're not all on this planet. So, but anyway, you're absolutely right, and he is in total control. So I want to talk just a second about how, as I come to a fuller understanding of who I am, because I still don't really know who I am, right? I'm finding out. But as I find out who I am, then the way I see Yeshua and Father evolves as I understand more of the fullness of who I am.
Yeah.
So I have a place where I meet with Yeshua pretty systematically. And so I'll go and check in. And like right now, I'm being shown a lot of things. And like in my talk today, I'm asking him to help me because it's like this. There is eventually our language will find out that spoken language like this is not really where it's at. That more of
Pretty
a,
limiting.
the sound and form of the fullness of the concept has a sacred geometrical counterpart. And as our heart brain connects to that geometry, then we get the download. So I'm trying to ask for the download of what I am to speak. And the one that came out clearly was the be lie. I don't want to be the lie. So if you're sitting with beliefs, you know, I'd really encourage you to really just challenge that and get into knowing what you know in your heart is so different from what you believe or you think or your mind is telling you or whatever, you know, because that's just it's like going to window shopping, you know, it keeps evolving. So anyway, that was the thing I was supposed to.
Good stuff. Thank you, Sheila. All right, Ginger, go ahead.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Today's conversation, especially about the music and stuff, anchored me back into our Friday group. It was so rich, and what came out of it and our meditation and intention was out of honor. And I had a church experience back in Litchfield where it's the most rich, one of the most rich churches organization that I was a member of, but they had such a culture of honor, and they blended the music because there was young and old, and they blended music. You know, we had the quiet time where it'd be instrumental and we'd speak in tongues, and then they had like an old hymn and new music, and then the loud music they did for youth night. And I loved the blend. I thought that was very honoring, and they weren't led by fear, manipulation, programming. They allowed, even during the sermon and questions to be, you know, he posed a question and he would give the microphone if someone like moved in and it had a prophetic word. The ushers were trained to just go to that person and give them the microphone. So it flowed. There was no fear. And that just reminded me that was such a culture of honor. And I would just hope that any gathering would be mindful when there's time and there's that time to do worship and things like that, that, you know, it's like inviting people for lunch or dinner. You kind of have a little bit of everything, you know, so people can enjoy it. And that's what I experienced at the Pearl, honest to God, because we played cards, we ate food, we did different, you know, we walked in quietness. There was such a blend of getting connected to one another, becoming family, getting connected with God in your own way, you know, in the way that God speaks to you, and the fun too, you know, it was just, and I want to be around culture like that. And that's all I have to say.
Yeah, that's it, is looking for the freedom cultures, which is interesting. I just put out a manifesto and an executive summary for kind of a next phase of where all this might go in terms of, you know, the choice and the matrix, breaking your matrix. And there's several different really powerful directions things could go. But my thing is, I don't want to get so into navel gazing, which we can do if we're not careful, you know, that we all, you know, try to keep fixing ourselves and trying to keep making ourselves better, which that is a pursuit that we all need to stay on to one degree or another. But at what point do we start sharing it? So at the end of the matrix, that's where, breaking your matrix, that's what I do start sharing, is the fact that we do need to start bringing this out to other people. And the fact is, you're already doing it whether you like it or not. You're raising the consciousness and the vibration of humanity as you move forward. And so that's the beauty of it. And the biggest and best thing you can do is just live it. Not necessarily preach it with your words, but just live it. And that takes a lot of self-control, one of the fruit of the Spirit, right? It takes a lot of self-control because we oftentimes do want to try to tell everybody how to do it differently, how to do it our way. When in reality, if you can just be it and just let it go, then the people that are meant to see it and make the changes will see it. And you don't have to worry about the others who don't. You just let those go. Let them go. So, well, what is it? We got time. We got, so I wanted to kind of talk about, I'll come back to Sheila first. Sheila had spoken about, oh my goodness, I just went blank. I just totally went blank. Oh, on what we believe. Yeah. And how, and I would say of preferences, expectations, and beliefs, the thing is, a belief is what's going to cause you to have an expectation and a preference. So yes, we do evolve in those. Is there a point where we get to a place where we are in such a deep level of just being that we have no preferences, have no expectations? And I'm going to, first off, my biggest answer would be, I don't know. That's my biggest answer. And I don't think anybody does. However, if there truly is individuality in each of us, then there has to be different preferences and different ideas that we carry. Now, at the same time, we are all piece and part of a whole of the one, God. And yet, if you look at our body, we've got trillions of cells in our body, and each one of them has a different function. If they all did the same thing, we couldn't live. But when each one is doing its part, and it's doing it well, then we live a good, healthy life. So to me, in the body of Christ, in Christ's consciousness, each one of us living, being, and doing our part, we are then, going to do a specific part, something different than what somebody else is doing. So there is a preference, there is a difference there. But I do believe we carry a ton of beliefs, preferences, and expectations that we don't even need to be carrying, that they really don't have anything to do with who we are. They have more to do with what we've been programmed with from the world. And again, that's part of the journey of the authenticity groups, is identifying those and being able to let more and more of those go so that we have less and less to actually kind of fight over, and if we're truly walking in love, then we don't fight over anything. Like I said, if I've found my space and place in perfect freedom, and I'm able to walk in that perfect freedom, it's guaranteed my freedom at some point is going to collide with your freedom to one degree or another. But the art of letting go is the key to us continuing in relationship and growing and admiring each other's differences, realizing that you're different for a purpose. If you were doing the same thing I'm doing, then there's no reason to have really two of us in the universe. But we're doing different things because we have different functions, and we are being the best blessing to the universe when we are being authentic and being ourselves, not being programmed, because that programming is just going to be the thing that keeps you trying to look like somebody else to one degree or another, or live up to somebody else's expectations. And it's a beautiful thing. We can finally just lay those down and be ourselves. All right, Janine, go ahead.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree with that. 100% at this point of my journey.
Right.
I don't know about tomorrow. It might not be 100%.
Right.
But today is 100%. But I would like to just emphasize what Sheila was saying, because that same thing was revealed to me. It was revealed to me when I understood what be means and what know means, those two words, because there is a difference in my belief my belief system or what I'm believing and what I've actually been experientially moved into a place of knowing.
Mm.
And so when she said that, I was like, oh, that's exactly what I share all the time. I don't know how many people are getting it. It's like, go over there.
I
I
hear
don't
you.
know.
I hear you.
Right? It's like, but I have come to understand, because when I say that, people are like, what? You don't believe? I was like, there's some things that I'm still believing because I have not had the experiential understanding in order to get to that place of no. But there's some places that God has been so gracious to show me himself and myself to a degree of me actually integrating those things and realizing there is no place of shadow or turning there.
Mm.
It's like, aha, I got that. It's like this one little thing. So I believe that those are the things that we share. And those are the things that we give. That's our gift to humanity. The things that we know. The beliefs, not so much. But we find so many people are sharing what they believe. But the thing that makes the greatest impact is when we get to this place of that authentic place that we've been created to be before the foundation of the earth in order to give that particular portion to the earth. And that's when we see the shift and the change in the atmosphere. Because I'm giving from the source, right? Because I actually got to know that. And I can get to know that as in know Yahweh, know the source, know the divine. And I got to know, and simultaneously, when I got to that little bit of knowing, and I'm not talking about in totality, for me anyway, that part that I got to know, that's another part of me was revealed. I got to know a little bit more about me. So it's like I'm knowing God and I'm knowing myself, and all of those things are happening and simultaneously, and those are the things that I can give because that's what I actually possess. The other things I may possess and I'm just not aware of them. But when the things that I'm aware of, right? That nothing can come and shift it. And this, I'm gonna say this and stop. I agree with Paul, and I know people are she's always saying something about Paul. I don't know why, because I never used to. But I'm telling you, it's a lot of stuff that he has said has really resonated with me. And I said, I get what he's saying in a deeper way than I ever did. When he said, I am no longer deceived by the devil's devices. I get what he's meaning by that, because it really helps me to understand what I just said. It's like, you can come and say what you want, call me what you want, do what you want, but I'm so grounded in this thing that God revealed to me that nothing is going to shift or change it at this juncture and stuff. So that's it. Guys. I know.
So
I'm excitable human being. This is me.
Love it.
Flamboyant, whatever. And I actually love that part of me, actually.
We do too.
I used to be an introvert, so this is really good for me. I'm like, yes. I love that this has happened.
So good. All right. Thank you, Deneen. Lacey, go ahead.
I love it. I love you, Deneen. Well, when you were talking about, it just all piggybacks. When you were talking about, Gil, just environments, maybe that's just me. I'm thinking of words. When you were sharing about how we all have something like that. I don't know if it's the word individuality in it, but just that piece, kind of like what Deanie was saying. And I think about it, and I'm reminded of what even Deneen was saying beforehand too, just what everyone's saying about the music and sound. And it's fascinating because I think of, I remember growing up at this church that was very centered on the younger generation a lot and all generations. And so when I used to go, I think I went there since I was 5 to around 19, and the music would be very loud. And I think what I've learned through that, getting to know myself, getting to know the piece I play, that I found really cool just through listening to all of this today, has just been getting to know, sometimes I might feel more overwhelmed and not as connected when I would be in like the worship sessions, because how the music is, or the sound quality or the frequency. And sometimes I think even environmentally, perhaps just what I would probably feel around the performance, maybe sometimes, maybe not, but just getting to realize my piece in it all and getting to know perhaps just maybe what I'd rather prefer silence and more calm, even in music, depending on what it is, but maybe there's something more to that, and I remember even when I was around 14 or 15, just in my experience, I remember talking with a few people just about how loud it would be. I would get panicked or like just overstimulated, and I just wasn't as enjoyable, but I tried to push through, you know.
Mhm.
Um, I I mean, I think there can be opinions, of course, and things, but when I just draw it back to um, just getting to know, oh, I'm just experiencing here. I'm just
Yes.
experimenting and experiencing where I
Yes.
really flow in and like what
Yeah.
I really
Yeah.
preference and like and can move into.
That's
And
good.
yeah, like sound wise too. I love frequency. I love sound and I love music. So I think sometimes even if I'm meant to be in a place at a certain time, if I get drawn there, I think every place is unique and specific, and so I can listen to loud music. It just depends, and the atmosphere and the people of uh, wherever I'm meant to be in that moment and flow in, and just experiencing, observing, getting to just experience it in the journeys of life, and I think it's so cool what was even said about just really that heart space, like Sheila was saying. I think it's very fascinating. Um, I found it very fascinating every time I drop into my heart, just how expansive or just how much more you can perceive in that heart space. And it's cool because I don't have to get on my mind about remembering. It will come because it's always everywhere. All of that info, all of what your heart is experiencing through the dimensions, layers, realms. And so I found that really, really interesting. And I like that I don't have to know when I'm in my heart. I realize I perceive so much more though. I'm able to like see this whole realm of like, oh, that's what's happening. I'm able to see this, or. So it's really cool to listen to that. And even just speaking before, like I was saying about the sound and music growing up as a kid, I did find it kind of ironic, just like at the human based level of like opinions and stuff of whatever. It doesn't matter, but I would say, it's ironic that I was the younger generation that they were trying to appease to or like appeal to, and yet, because that's what the pastor had said,
Yeah.
I heard, and why they wouldn't change the music and stuff. And not that they had to, but just the heightened sound of it all.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I'm the generation you're appealing to, right? Well, might I speak on behalf of us that are teens or
Right.
whatever? And everyone's different, though. That's the
Right,
thing, though.
yeah.
Everyone's unique, and so it's not that we have to force change or anything. No, I think we're all flow and lined into where that piece that we are. And so certain things I didn't fit with because I was like, it's getting to know, oh, that's okay. I can be around it, but I don't have to. I don't
So
have to
good.
stay in that. I can know where I flow now. And last thing I'll say is the sound part, the frequency. There's something to that. And so it's really cool to hear about the geometric stuff, what Sheila was saying. But I love it, guys. I
Yeah.
love hearing this.
And what I love hearing that's coming out just in the community here is just the love that's underneath everything. Is just understanding that yes, we all have, and it's hard to believe that we are not going to have preferences while we're here on this planet. Because I mean, even the most dedicated monk or whoever's meditating out in the middle of nowhere, you know what? Guess what? That's probably their preference, to be out in the middle of nowhere and meditating quietly. It's a preference. That's what they have found feeds them. and gives them life. So, to take somebody like that and drop them in the middle of a Christian worship where you can't hear yourself think, probably isn't going to be their preference. There's going to be preferences. But, being able to let go of that preference long enough to survive an incident is a great blessing. To be able to let something go in order to get through an event that may have otherwise really tweaked you emotionally or in any other way, but to be able to let that go and learn to be wherever you're at in the moment. That's an amazing thing. Yeah, good stuff. Thank you, Lacey. All right, Sheila, go ahead.
Yes, thank you. I want to clarify, in my first time I spoke, I didn't make the distinction between the written word and the spoken word. And it's the written word that's problematic more so than the spoken word, because the spoken word carries, the sound carries far more with it than the written word would possibly. So I didn't clarify that. But I wanted to address what you were talking about our individual choices and so on, and how we eventually collide and what have you. And that's I totally agree with all that. I wanted to add the comment of sovereignty, particularly in the form world. Like, we're still in form. Like, eventually we don't have form, but right now we do. And there's duality, because you can't really have form unless you've got contrast. You couldn't see it. So I've been thinking a lot about that, like, as we recognize, even with the people that we totally disagree with, everybody's learning. Yeah. And everybody is, their own sovereignty, they're creating an environment to take them to the next level of learning, whatever, and we're all in different places at different times. And our road keeps moving all the time. So kind of respecting people's sovereignty, I think, is starting to help me be more loving in my reaction to those that are coming and colliding with me, because I don't suppose you guys would know that I'm pretty easy to collide with. I mean, right now it's like, I'm in another place from where I used to be, and it's hard to connect. So, I can collide pretty easily. Even when I'm trying to pull myself in, I can collide. So anyway, so I just wanted to talk about sovereignty, and also add from a personal standpoint, I have been struggling with unity conscious versus sovereignty. And when your sovereignty joins unity consciousness, is it still self-aware?
Well, that's the question that we don't know, do we? I've often contemplated that. It's kind of like when a drop of water goes back into the ocean, does it still remain a drop of water, or is it now just the ocean?
Yeah. I did have a friend of mine recently told me that she saw herself in unity consciousness having a discussion with me, and that there was some creation going on with the sovereign beings in unity consciousness. So I don't know all the particulars about that, but I found that as an encouraging, that was an encouraging concept, because ultimately, like we're talking about, like respecting one another as we move along through this. And then when we get to the point where there's no more form, then are we still here? That there is still creation and creativity, which we are merged with. And I think that's part of what the process is right now, and why Jesus keeps looking so different, from the way he did before. I'm kind of tying this back to our earlier conversation, where I know, like everyone knows about the Christed energy that flows between your energy systems in the inner of your inner being. And when the chakras move from being this way to being this way, and then you've got the silver flow all the way through. And you know that that's the Christed light, right? But is that Jesus? Because he still materializes over here. See? So then how does all of this fit together? Does divinity express itself in a like a humanoid form to ease communication with us?
And see, that goes back to belief, and actually goes
That's
back
what
to,
no, I'm just throwing it out.
yeah, actually goes back to what was, and I don't see her on here anymore, you know, but Jennifer had said that, you know, talking about how every NDE she's ever read or heard about, you know, people see Jesus. And I'm like, well, you got to understand the internet. The internet puts you into an algorithm that gives you what you're wanting to see. Because the research is very clear that people who believe in Buddha are oftentimes seeing Buddha. People who believe in Krishna are seeing Krishna. It's more about what you believe, which dictates what you're going to wind up seeing. You know, it kind of goes the same way with dreams. Now, is that 100% all the time? No. Absolutely not. But it is definitely part of, you know, what you believe is what you're going to see. People who believe in hell oftentimes see hell when they have an NDE, and yet I'm pretty sure, I'm convinced anyway myself, that there is no hell that has been as it's been described in the church box.
Right.
So anyway, that your belief is incredibly, incredibly powerful. But just because you believe something doesn't mean it's true. You know, it doesn't mean it's true and right. So we know that because everybody across the planet, we're all believing things differently. And in some cases, and what is being believed by one person and what's being believed by another person, they really don't quite go together. In fact, you probably could say they don't go together at all. So, you know, there definitely is belief that you can carry. Any one of us can carry. In fact, I would say we all carry belief to one degree or another that is wrong. So that's all there is to it. We just haven't discovered it yet. We just haven't been made known. It's not been made known to us. If I can say that right, it's not been made known to us that it's wrong. And yet, how many of us here believe the same stuff we believed 10 years ago, 20 years ago? None of us, because, you know, maybe some things we still hold on to, obviously, but there's a lot of stuff that we've let go of too, because we've realized it didn't fit, it didn't match. I need to say something really quickly, because if my AI works correctly, which I'm not got a lot of faith in today, if it does work correctly, it will stop the recordings at 1:02 p.m. And ideally, it just stops the recording and doesn't shut everything down. I got a feeling it's not going to do anything. So I'm just letting you know in case that happens. So, all right. Thank you, Sheila. Maxine, go ahead.
I like that. Well, as Sheila was talking about doing things in the spirit realm, that she actually experienced or saw or somebody else did. I'm wondering if we are going to be surprised with what we have done that we are not aware of right now.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm sure it goes in both directions in terms of, you know, we get to a point where the truth gets revealed to us and we realize all the garbage we were holding on to that wasn't right. And then we also find out just the impact that we really did have. And I'm a firm believer that we have a massive impact but that impact comes when we learn to just be ourselves. Because otherwise we're constantly chasing the dreams and the ropes of sand and everything else that the world has fed to us that have no meaning for us at all. Have meaning to the world and to the egregores that were built, but has no meaning to us as individuals at all. And, you know, when we can actually just learn to be and sit in the belief of who we are and the impact that we are meant to have as human beings, being ourselves, yeah, I think we would find that alone has got so much more impact that we're not even aware of.
Well, because there are times I will when I go to sleep at night, I'll say, God, I'm available for whatever you want to do, have me do in the spirit realm.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and I know, a lot of people have done that. And I know when I do my meditation, my best position in a meditation is going in with no agenda. I just want to be. And God, if you want to take me somewhere and do something, totally up to you. But I'm just here to be. I just want to be with you. I just want to hear. I just want to be. And that be is intimate. Just to be, in that oneness is incredible, and don't have to do anything. It's beautiful. All right, so I'm going to say it now in case it does work and cuts me off. That if you want to stick around for the afterburn with John and Evelyn, then just stay tuned right here on the Zoom, and we will that will continue with John and Evelyn. So, and again, I got a feeling nothing's going to happen. But anybody got anything else? We got about 2 more minutes before this drops off the live section.
I'm loving seeing all these people that are at the Pearl. That's what I'm enjoying. I'm like, there's Carrie. I feel like the lady on Romper Room, and there's Carrie, and there's Larry, and there's I'm like, all these people are at the Pearl. Wow.
Well,
I mean, if Carrie wasn't beside Nicholas, I would have never known. But then I said, oh my gosh, look at this.
Well, Nicholas is actually in Florida with Carrie.
Oh, well, okay.
So, but as of Tuesday, I think, if that's still the plan, they will be here, unless that's changed, but they will be here.
Wow.
Coming soon.
So cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
So cool. I know Deb sent a message saying, telling me that I will love it there.
Yeah. Pretty sure you would. Yep. Larry, you got something?
I've got the speaker over here.